Before we get into today's episode, this one is brought to you by Flowdesk, the email marketing platform I use to run my own newsletter at Lion Creatives. If you've been putting off starting an email list or you're on a platform that just isn't working for you, Flowdesk is worth a look. The templates are beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's built for small business owners. Get 25% off your first year at flowdesk.com/c/Lion Creatives, but I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes.
What was happening is they buy you and it becomes all about money. So the family aspect of, hey, your company is a family run company, been around for 30, 40 years, it becomes not about your employees, it becomes about the money. And that's all it is.
Yes. Welcome to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. I'm Svenja Lion, and in each episode, I sit down with local business owners and entrepreneurs to share their stories, how they got started, what keeps them going, and what makes their business stand out. My goal? To help more amazing businesses be seen, supported, and celebrated. So grab your coffee, because this might just get creative. Welcome to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast. And my guest today is Dan Keller. Dan runs a third-generation family roofing, siding, and windows company right here in our area in beautiful Flanders.
Yep.
And he came back to the business, worked through the hard years, and now he is the one running it. Private equity has been buying up home services companies left and right, roofing, siding, HVAC, and they come in with the big money, buy the family businesses, roll them into one big company, and flip the whole thing in 5 years. Dan is the one of the few owners who said no. And he's got a lot to say about why that matters for the people he works for. And we get into the family story, what private equity is doing to local trades, where AI fits in a business that still needs a person on the roof, and a marketing idea he's testing right now that sounds really interesting. Dan,
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you. I mean,
Yeah.
we know each other from our local BNI group.
That's
and
correct.
I'm
Yep.
very happy to have met you.
You are my first podcast, live podcast. My brother did a
Nice.
podcast with me back in like 2015, and we were in a very fancy studio, and so times have changed quite a bit. So I'm going to say this is my very first live podcast that I've ever been a part of. So I appreciate you inviting me and having me over.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about the business. And
Yes.
You're running the business that your family built over 3 generations.
Yes.
And right now, we talked about this in our pre-recording meeting.
Yes.
Companies like yours are getting bought out by private equity.
Yep.
And those companies, as far as I understood, they offer a lot of money, 20 million plus in some cases.
Yes.
And what goes through your head when you watch that happening?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been happening now for probably about 3 years that we've been seeing companies starting to get bought out. I was first introduced to it 2 springs ago. I was at a conference in Puerto Rico, actually, beautiful place to be at a conference. And there was 3 different private equity firms at this conference, and started basically going up to all the attendees saying, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Let's talk. And I was totally oblivious to it, had no idea what was going on. And so, seeing these people, I said to one of my coworkers that was there with me, what are they doing here? And he's like, yeah, they're trying to buy up roofing companies. That's the newest thing. So came home from that conference, had a conversation with one of them about it, and I really truly knew nothing about private equity. So a colleague of mine that owns a roofing company down south in Myrtle Beach said to me, he's like, hey, I'm looking into this as well. I would recommend you read these 3 books. So I immediately downloaded them, listened to them. I go for walks in the evening, and I listened to them as I was walking. And about a couple weeks to a month later, I wouldn't say I was an expert, but I actually had an idea of what private equity was about. and learning that it really started in the HVAC world, that big companies were buying HVAC contractors and for a lot of money, and turning them into these big conglomerate businesses. So apparently these companies said, you know what, roofing is a great business too. Let's get into roofing. So the company that I talked to, that I had a Zoom call with, I think we talked for about 20 minutes. They talked about how, okay, we'll pay you 15 times your EBITDA, sometimes even
Wow.
more, depending on how profitable you are and how big of a company you are. And you're talking, big money that these companies are offering to family-run businesses. So to answer the long answer to your question is, that first reaction is, wow, that's life-changing money. And
Yeah.
my first thought was, that's life-changing money. If I were to go through this, what am I going to do next? At the time I was 46 years old, too early to retire. So, we had the conversation with the company, talked to them, like I said, for about 20 minutes, and then, hung up. I finished reading another book about private equity, and then just kind of sat back and watched and said, you know what, you never want to be the trailblazer. Let's see what these other companies are doing. And thank God I did, because literally a year later, I'm at the exact same conference, just in a different location, and started talking to companies that were in the know about what was happening, and they were saying it was becoming a disaster. That
Yeah, so
basically what was happening is they buy you, and it becomes all about money. So the family aspect of, hey, your company is a family-run company, been around for 30, 40 years, it becomes not about your employees, it becomes about the money, and that's all it is.
yes. Yet, let's go a little bit deeper into that.
Yes.
What does it do to the businesses that they buy with all their money? What do they do with those businesses, and
Yep.
how
So-
long does it take?
Yep. So basically, it starts immediately. So they told me that if you accept our offer, if we make an offer to you, you accept it, we're going to close within 3 months. And then at some point, every deal was different, but you have to stay on for a certain amount of years, and your payouts going to be in percentages and all this stuff. And basically, you have to continue growing as a company. You can't either go backwards, you can't stay idle. Not only do you have to grow in your revenue, but your profits have to grow as well. And if it doesn't, they come in and they clean house. So a couple examples, there was a company, that company down south that gave me the recommendations to read a book. He was one of the smartest businessmen I know. He eventually picked a company. He went through the whole process. They paid him. Within 3 months, he decided to leave the company, leave the PE firm, and just get away, because he was so unhappy with how they were treating his employees, which, part was his family. There was another company out in the Midwest that they could not sustain the same revenue. They were staying level. They weren't growing. And they literally came in and fired everybody and said, you know what,
Wow.
everybody's out. We're bringing in our people, our executive team, our salespeople. We're going to teach you a whole new way to sell, and get your revenue up and your margins even better.
Okay,
and
so then it turns into just being about money,
that's it.
and
Yep.
not about the work anymore, not about
That's
the
right.
values, and
Not about the value, not about the employees, not about who is actually doing the work, who's supervising the work, who's in the offices. Here it's me, my wife, my sister, my brother, my cousin. It truly is a family business. So when we say to a customer, hey, look, Dan and Heather own the business. When the contract is signed, you're going to talk to Dan's sister, Corey, because she's the one who does all the ordering and all the scheduling. Literally you're saying his sister, Corey. It means so much to a customer to say, yes, this is still a family business, like it always was. And going private equity, from what I've been told, takes that all away, because it's all about numbers. You're not Corey, your employee number blank, blank, blank. Because these private equity firms, they're gobbling up all these roofing companies throughout the entire United States. So you're not just 2 or 3 companies being gobbled up. You're company number 20, number 30,
Yeah.
number 40. And so you lose that. And quite honestly, I like being an owner. I like being able to do whatever I want to do at any time. And I would lose that. I'd become an employee then. And, having to put in a form to request the day off, I haven't had to do that in 20 plus years. So that is something that that was another decision factor of, you know what, I like owning it. I like the fact that it's ours. And this is the one where it kind of pulls my heart a little bit is, my father who started the company is still alive. For me to go have to talk to him and say, hey, Pop, I sold the company. It's not going to be George J. Keller and Sons anymore. Because eventually that's what they told me is, we'll keep your name for a year or two and then we change it. And it's a slow process. So that way you don't lose, all that name brand to start. But I would never be able to go to him and say, hey, Pop, we sold and the company name is no longer there,
Yeah,
So
that's sad.
it is. And it made the decision much easier for me to say no thanks. And then to get the knowledge a year later that, hey, it's really not working out for a lot of these companies was kind of the okay, I made the right call. I made the right decision. So
yeah. So, and now let's go a little bit more, even deeper into what exactly changes and what makes you different, because you're still the family-owned business.
Yes.
And then you have these private equity firms. So what changes for the client specifically?
Yeah, so basically, we've actually brought on a couple of employees that used to work for the old roofing companies that were bought out by private equity. And what they're telling me is, you're a corporate environment at that point. You're no longer that family business that you call up and say, hey, can you let me know what date I'm on for? I have a dog getting groomed, so can we push it a day? And you're talking to either the owner or the owner's sister. There's no longer. You're talking, when you call a private equity firm, you're talking to corporate. Literally, you could be talking to somebody completely in a different state when you make that initial call, even to set up an estimate, because they have basically call centers that, every line, whether you're in South Carolina, Maine, Wisconsin, you call the local number, but you're getting routed to a call center and you're setting everything up there. So you're no longer talking to Diana, who's 3 offices down from me when you make that initial call, so you're losing that personal touch and you're going into a corporate environment at that point.
Yeah. And also I can imagine that if like that is especially that personal touch that you're talking about is that if I need for example, we talked when we wanted to get our solar panels installed.
Yep.
Because I have this personal connection to you, it was so much easier to go with your recommendation and also to, to trust that you have my best interest in mind.
Correct.
But if it's a corporate environment and there's no direct connection and no people that I really know, that part gets lost, I feel.
It really does. And the way I look at it is, I'm not going to try and sell you something even though you don't need it. Like, we do very little solar. So I gave you the name of the guy that I trust to do it. And if I was private equity, I might say to you, hey, Svenja, you know what? I'm going to give you this guy, but we really need to replace your roof because you shouldn't put it on an old roof. Even if your roof is 5 years old, you shouldn't do that, which is untrue, but the mentality of the business turns to, we have to make money. No matter what we do, we have to make money instead of, hey, let's take care of the client. Whether we can sell something to you or offer you a service. If we can't, we can't. I'm just happy that you were able to hire somebody that I recommended and you trusted and they worked out for you. It's a totally different mindset. It truly is going to private equity because everything, your monthly and quarterly reports literally determine if you have a job the next day or not. Where here, it's more about, hey, let's service the customer. Let's make the customer happy. And if that means we can offer you a service, fine, no big deal. As long as you got the service you need and with somebody that we trusted and you had a good relationship with.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I would, me as a customer, if I have a roofing issue, I would call someone that I know.
Right.
Because
Right.
I have no idea, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And to have this personal relationship is so much better
Yep.
than just calling a random number.
And it also comes to, in a situation like you just mentioned, say you have a roof issue, we're out there saying, okay, this is what we found. I can give you an option, let's say it's a small repair that's needed. I can give you that repair option, where a private equity firm, are they going to give you that repair, or are they going to say, hey, you know what? I need to make revenue. I need to make a profit. I'm going to sell you an entire roof, even if you don't need to have an entire roof done. So that's the other difference is, for us, we know we can gain your trust by offering you a repair in the right situation, and now you're a customer for life. Instead of forcing you and saying to you, no, you got to change your entire roof, even though I could repair it for $600. Nope, you got to spend 20 grand on a new roof, because again, their mindset is, we need revenue, we need profits. That's what we need. So it truly is a different mindset.
And how about the service that you offer on site? Because I'm imagining that is different as well. Because I mean, from talking to you and from hearing your 60-second speeches at BNI every Thursday, I understand you have a drone, drone, right? Yes, you have one of those. Then we did this one exercise where you help, like we could select the colors of the siding and all those little things, So walk me through that.
Yeah, so it's something that we always try and stand out, be different from our competitors when we meet you for the first time during the estimating process, and then same thing when we're doing the job. So when we come out to meet you for the first time, we run a drone. We will walk the roof if it's walkable and it's safe, but for the most part, we're going to run a drone, take pictures, take video of any issues that we find. And a lot of homeowners love when we do that. They want to see it. So we'll even bring the homeowner out, and usually don't hand over the controls, but let them look at the screen while we're controlling it. And it's great, because then we can download those images and videos and share them with the homeowner right away. We even have a presentation tool that was designed by GAF for us, custom made by GAF for us, that shows the homeowner our entire process, what it takes to replace a roof and how we do it. And then we also do what they call the hover report, which is we take 8 photos of the house, and within about 2 hours, it creates a report for us with measurements, but it also creates a 3D image that we share with the homeowner, and you can go in and change the color of your roof, change the color of your siding. And it makes things so much easier. 15 years ago, this didn't exist. So when I had a homeowner say to me, hey, we're thinking of some earth tone colors, I would have to give them addresses and all the earth tone colors and let them drive around and see it. Now it's right on the computer screen. It's here. Push a couple buttons, and you can save it and make 4 different designs if you want to. So it truly is a differentiating factor that we give to homeowners. And then when the job starts, we have project managers on every single job. So you get that personal relationship with Jared, with Tom, with Enrique. You're meeting all the PMs with Mike and saying, it's nice to meet you, especially with siding jobs where they're, anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. You're becoming a known person to the homeowner, that they're welcoming you to their house, and you're making a huge change to their entire, to really, their biggest investment of their life. So it really makes us stand out when, Jared shows up to the house and the homeowner says, hey, it's good to see you again. What's the plan for today? And they do a walk around together. And then 2 hours later, homeowner maybe pokes out and says, how's everything going? Well, great. Let's walk around. How you doing? And talking. So we've definitely had homeowners that will respond after the job saying, I miss the project manager, because they do have a relationship with the homeowner. It's just, these are the little things that, as a family-owned business, we can make the decision of, hey, you know what? Yes, it's going to cost us a little bit more to have a PM on every job, but at the end of the day, it's all about customer satisfaction. Where a private equity is saying, if the number allows it, you can do it, but typically the number's not going to allow it, so you can't do it. So just, again, little things that make us stand out from everybody else.
Yeah, I have not heard about private equity until we talked about it. I didn't even know, that was such a big thing.
Yeah, and there's so many different companies that are out there that are making the calls. I get a lot of calls, almost one a day, of private equity looking to talk, and who knows how much of it is just AI or cold calling stuff. But for the most part, I hit the delete button and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So going back to when you joined the business, because as far as I understood, you did something completely different before.
I did, yeah. So my father started the company in 1980. I was 2 years old at the time.
Oh, wow.
I was one of the last of 6 to be born. So my father, was working at Prudential. He actually came home from Vietnam, got a job at Prudential. But when I was 2 years old, he said, you know what, we need to make some more money because we got a lot of mouths to feed. So started roofing. He actually was helping a friend out. That friend said, hey, you're really good at this. You should do this on your own. So started George J. Keller and Sons. I started working for him probably in 3rd or 4th grade, just cleaning up shingles. Hated it. Never wanted to do it ever in my life. Wasn't until I got to college in 96 where my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she was at University of Richmond. I was up here at Caldwell, and I got our first phone bill. And I said, I called my father up. I'm like, hey, Pop, I need to work. And he's like, doing what? I said, I need to roof. And he goes, are you feeling okay? I said, yeah, I feel great. I just need money. So fast forward, I graduated with a computer information science degree, worked for Chubb Insurance for 5 years. And about 3 years in, my father came to me and said, hey, we're looking to expand. At the time, he owned the business with my brother Mike, and said, would you be interested in leaving Chubb and coming to us? And I said, yeah, just give me 2 weeks notice. Because at the time, corporate America was sitting behind a desk, staring at 2 screens, and not being able to ever go outside. So took about 2 years, but 2 years later, on my 5-year anniversary, I left Chubb, jumped on board as 2006, and was a salesperson for 3 years. Bought my father's side of the business out in 2009. So my brother Mike and I were partners until 2015. When I bought him out and then took over full ownership of the business. So I've owned it with my wife Heather for since 2015. I just hit 2 weeks ago was my 20-year anniversary working here.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until it was like 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, wait a second. It's May 15th. That's my 20-year anniversary. So
my God.
not much fanfare, but yeah. So. It truly has been a family-owned business, and now my kids work here part-time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's great. And we when I sit back and think about it, the amount of families that work here, the amount of people that work here that have families, when you really think about all those people that are invested in the company and give 110% effort every day and make the company successful. It truly sometimes is like, wow, that's a lot of mouths that this company feeds and people rely on. So it's a great feeling. It really is.
And then going back to the private equity again.
Yeah.
So if you are an employee at a family-owned business like yours, I think it's more, you can be more proud of the work that you're doing. And I think you're putting in more of your own heart because it's a family business.
Yes.
But when it's just corporate, you're just a wheel, and then you just, do whatever is asked of you, and you don't put any more effort in.
Yeah. And, if you don't perform on that private equity field, or the company doesn't perform, and the numbers aren't there, you're looked at as the problem. So it's, okay, let's swap. Let's bring new faces in, new ideas. Where here it's different. If we run into an issue, it becomes okay, how do we fix this? How do we make this work? And, I've always gone to the PMs and say, hey, look, you have full autonomy. If you need to do something to make the customer happy, you do it. You don't need to come to me and ask for permission. You make it happen. Where, private equity, it's a different story, completely different story.
Yeah, because you don't know the people. You don't know who is sitting somewhere in who knows where.
That's right.
You don't know. Yeah. But going back to your story, when you started, because I can imagine that it's a weird feeling from being employed by a company and then stepping into your own thing. It must be very different.
It was a big change for me because, corporate America, it was, okay, let me do really good as much as I can, but then I'm relying on my annual review to get a raise and bonus. And it's never as much as you think. You don't get as much as you think you're owed. And I remember my boss at the time, he said to me, he's like, look, you're ranked 3rd out of 30 people in our department. And I was like, oh, great, but you're never going to make it in corporate America because you don't kiss enough rear ends. And I'm like, what? Oh. Like I would literally sit behind a desk and work and work and work. And that was a big slap in the face of, okay, so it's not about, what you're doing at the desk. It's about who you're talking to and who you're doing this. So moving into this world, it became about, look, the harder you work, the more you're going to benefit from it. And that is 100% accurate when it comes to any business that you own or a small business that you work for. You put in minimal effort, you're going to make minimal money. But if you put in maximum effort and you truly care, you're going to do very well in this. And it's not going to be easy, of course, but at the end of the day, you have something that you created that you can be extremely proud of and say, you know what, my hard work is what made this happen. And it truly, it took a while for me to understand that. I spent 5 years at Chubb, so 5 years in corporate America, and then and I was doing sales. So for me, it was, okay, one, I got to learn how to sell. I had to go to class and learn all that stuff. And then two, what I was able to sell is how I made money. So it was a commission-based job. And it was basically, in the beginning, me saying, oh boy, can I do this? And then when I started realizing I could, it was, oh boy, I can do this. This is going to be great. And it really, it changed my entire outlook on life to the point where I said, I wish I never spent a day in corporate America. I wish I was working for myself or for my family business all the time because I'm not afraid of hard work. So for me, it was like, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely relate because I grew up in a family, like my mom was a goldsmith. I don't know if you can translate it 100%. And my dad, a watchmaker. So we had the store right under where we lived. So it was in the house. So it was always part of like how I grew up. Yeah. So I grew up in the store upstairs. And but then I went into marketing and I got my degree in marketing. And of course, I worked for a big corporation.
Yeah.
And I always missed that personal touch.
Yes.
I was never really happy in the office. And then when I moved here from Germany, sitting in cubicles, no windows, that was horrible. That was just terrible. Absolutely. Oh my God.
Yes. Yep.
And so when I then finally founded Lion Creatives, it was hard at the beginning too, because it was like, it's such a mind, you just have to switch your corporate thinking into a different thinking.
Right.
It's you all of a sudden you have these, you can make the choices. You can make the choices. You don't have to report to anyone. But then you don't know, is that the right choice? I have no idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
So just to learn all these little things, and but I would never go back. I would never go back into corporate.
And there is something to say about learning by making those wrong choices. That pain you feel by making the wrong choice will make you never ever make that wrong choice ever again. And it's truly a hard lesson to learn. But when you're in corporate America, hey, you made a mistake. Yeah, your boss gets on you a little bit. And I remember a particular instance where my boss got on me because I went to the dentist and
oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my gosh. So, but it wasn't the end of the world, and I made up for it, kind of thing. So, but here, you make a decision that costs you or the company a lot of money. Hey, that's a hard lesson to take. But you know what? I will not be making that mistake ever again because I know how much it costs now.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being in this type of business, in your own business, is, if you make the mistake, everything comes and points right back at you saying, you know what, you did good, you made some money, but hey, you also screwed up, and it all lands on your own shoulders. There's nobody else to blame. And I personally love that. I love
Yeah.
the fact that it starts with me and ends with me, you know,
Yeah.
and some people that doesn't work for them, which is totally fine,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to me, that's the best part of owning a business.
I agree, absolutely. And talking about mistakes, marketing, I mean, you know, not that marketing is a mistake, but marketing kind of, I mean, I have a degree in marketing, but still
Yep.
it's kind of learning by doing. Because
Absolutely.
everything that you're being taught in school
Yep.
is good to know,
Yes.
but it typically doesn't really work that way.
And it's
So-
constantly changing. Constantly
Yes.
changing. Yes.
All
Yeah.
the time. So, as far as I understand, you track every lead.
Every single one.
And
Yeah.
you have like referrals, repeat customers, job
Yep.
signs,
Yep.
trucks. So, how is it set up? How do you do that? How do you track it?
Yeah, so we actually track every lead that comes in. So every phone call that comes in, Diana asks, "How did you hear about us?" And you know, we do pretty much every type of advertising out there except for billboards and radio. We do TV commercials, tons of online stuff, and usually our top three are previous customer, customers that we've done work for that are calling for more work. Referrals, where they, you know, a previous customer referring a neighbor or a friend. Obviously, we love those. Facebook is always huge. The mom groups, the hey, anybody, you know, recommend a roofer? We get on there, and then job signs. You know, putting a job sign in somebody's front yard is crazy. How much it works, but it works all the time. People say, "Hey, I saw your job sign down the street from me. You know, I'm calling to get an estimate." So, and we've been tracking this literally since 2006. You know, when I started, when I was doing the intake calls, my brother always said there was a line on our intake sheet. How did you hear about us? And we'd have to write it down. You know, 20 years later, we're running different reports now, and it's all computerized. But even back then, and you know, it always surprises me if I talk to a business and I say, well, what's your biggest revenue source? You know, where are people hearing about you? And people say, I don't know. It's like, whoa, that's crazy to me because we rely so much on that information.
Yeah.
And, you know, 20 years ago, there used to be the phone book, you know, the yellow pages. Now that's no longer gone, but no longer there. But it even back then, you know, we tracked everything and then we run reports saying, okay, where do we put our money every single month? What's working and what's not working?
And during our pre-recording meeting, you said there's like different options how you can track. And there's these options of having a specific phone number.
Yep.
That tracks, you know, you have different phone numbers. But then you mentioned something really interesting about those phone numbers.
Yes.
So what's the downside?
Yeah, so we used to use a tracking for all our marketing. We used to have a tracking phone number, and then we'd get a report every month from a company that said, "Here's how your marketing is working." And then we had an issue because we had a customer call, and she was probably in her 60s, and she said, "You know, I almost wasn't going to call because I saw your number on the job sign. I saw your number on, at the time we were still doing the Valpak stuff. I saw a different number on there, and then I went online and I saw a different number on your website." And she said, and it made me think you guys were scam artists, that you had 3 different phone numbers. And I said, okay. I said, that's good to know. Thank you. And then literally a week later, the gentleman who was doing our website and Google stuff back then called me up and said, hey, just so you know, all of your ads that you're doing online all have different numbers, and Google frowns upon that. So it was pretty much almost within a week that we were like, you know what? We're done with the tracking numbers. You know, let's put the same number on everything, and let's really make it a priority that we're asking people how they heard about us, instead of relying on that tracking number to do that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So we have not done it since. No tracking numbers whatsoever.
Yeah. And so now your idea about the Facebook mom groups.
Yes.
So that's the actually very smart idea.
Yeah.
And so what's the idea?
All right. So it started out probably 2000, right around COVID. I was meeting with the IT company that was working with us, and we're just having a meeting, just checking in. And he said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "You know, we get a lot of leads from Facebook mom groups. and we love it. It's so great. And he's like, you should look at a website that I've been using called hiremymom.com. And I was like, is this for real? Like, is this a real thing? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I use it for, some tasks that I need done. And it's basically a virtual secretary to an extent. And I actually never looked at it, but I actually started thinking with my wife, maybe we should talk to our previous clients and the people that we've done work for and have them, when they post, hey, we offer a referral fee. You post and people call, we're going to give you a referral fee from that. So it kind of started from that, and it's just kind of grown to be where, we'll reach out to our previous clients and say, hey, look, here's a form. You recommend us on a Facebook page, or group. We're going to pay you as a thank you for referring us. We're going to pay you for that. So it's not people that we pay that never did work for us. It's people that we did work for. They're telling the honest truth. They're happy with our services. They're just putting it on Facebook. And we offer a referral fee no matter what, whether it's through Facebook or anything else. Why not also offer that for Facebook as well? So it's been very successful, really good for us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then it also has the double effect of having, because if people refer you, people typically just refer people that they trust and that they like.
Yes.
So it's a positive feedback for you as well.
Yep, exactly.
At the same time while getting the referral.
And we always tell the homeowner that agrees to do this for us, don't make anything up. Be honest with your you're referring to us. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. But if you feel comfortable, if we did well for you and you want to share it with the world, please do. Go right ahead. And by the way, here's your referral fee for that.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty smart. But is there, and I asked that's one of my typical questions on the podcast, is do you have any marketing challenges that you are working through?
It's interesting because kind of what we were just talking about is there's so many things and what works and what doesn't. So I would say we have gotten really, really granular with our TV and our the money we spend on TV ads for a commercial that goes through regular cable and then also our streaming services. So it's very hard to know, well, obviously we track it. So if somebody saw us on TV, they say TV, but it's hard to know how many impressions you're actually getting. The TV company, they always give us the reports so we see it. But it always makes you wonder. What really is awesome is when a friend or a family member shoots me a text, hey, we just saw your commercial on TV. It's the streaming where you say, okay, what avenue should we go with the streaming? Should we show it on YouTube? I have HBO Max at home and I see a local dentist in Randolph. It's constant with her commercial. So it's like, oh, should we be doing HBO Max? And how do you get on there? Who do you have to talk to be there? So that would probably be the biggest challenge of right now is, okay, all these different streaming services that are out there, how do you market on those? And is there, do we do that through one company or do you have to reach out to the streaming service to do it? And, we're getting the answers we need, but that is definitely a struggle of, okay, which one is the best one? Which one do you do? And, it's kind of like, okay, how many impressions are you going to get? How many people are going to see it? That would definitely be very, very hard to do and struggle with us right now. The second thing that is kind of new, but it's out there, is how many people are using AI to do searches now instead of, say, Google. So I think I read somewhere, and Svenja, you might have actually given this stat, where ChatGPT has overtaken Google as the most searched website to find services. So, which, 2 years, 3 years ago would have been like, no way, no chance Google's going to lose that, But
it's all the AI. It's not just ChatGPT, Claude and Grok or whatever it's called, Gemini. They all pull, and so that changed a little bit the landscape of SEO.
Yeah.
Because typically you set your website up, you have the SEO, you write your blog post, and you were all set.
Yeah.
But now with the AEO and all the AI bots, they look for specific things on your website.
Right.
For example, do you have specific FAQs on your website. I mean, SEO needed that as well, but those AI bots, they really look for validating the answers that you have on your website with other things that you put out. So they are really cross-checking a lot more than what was done before.
Right.
So now you have to set up. Now, before, you might have been very visible on Google. You might have been, you might have been on page 1.
Yeah.
But now you're not being found anymore because most of the people are asking their AI friends what business they would recommend.
Yeah.
So if your website is not really set up for the new AEO stuff, you might lose, some things. But how would you know? It happens, and then you catch up.
And we had a customer call a month or two ago and said, I found you on ChatGPT. And we're like, whoa, we don't even have that on our list to use as a source. So we had to add it on. But that was our first time where we're like, oh, okay, now we need to start looking into this. And how do we, is it a paid way to get on there? All that stuff. So it's something that's new to us and new probably to all industries. That
definitely, yes.
We have to figure out how to be in there and be, one of the first pages that come up, if that's even a thing with AI.
It's more like you ask, like you can have a conversation with Claude.
Right.
And you talk, and then Claude gives you suggestions.
Yep.
But a lot of times, it already is being blocked from your website because you don't know that your website actually blocks robots.
Right.
So you have to switch to a different setting in the back end to allow the crawling, that the robots can crawl your website.
Right.
That was, and nobody knows about that.
Right.
So, it's very interesting.
It's the future. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And you have to get on board, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And speaking of AI,
yes.
You're in a business where, unless there is a robot that can climb roofs, you're,
It's definitely an industry that the swinging of the hammer, I know it's been tested before to have a robot on the roof, but it does not work. I'm sure maybe in 50 years, maybe something will happen, but right now, the getting on the roof, it is not going to happen. Getting on the siding, it's just, even the windows, it is not an industry where AI is going to replace the installers. Where it's going to make a big difference, and we're already using this, is in the office. Doing things with AI. I was doing something the other day. So the way we price jobs is I created these Excel spreadsheets with 8 million formulas in it. I'm a big Excel nerd, and I created these things back in 2013, I think. And, I changed them over the years, but we would take the information gathered during the estimate with measurements and manually put them into the Excel spreadsheet. Well, just the other night, I had a thought of, I wonder if AI could help me with that. So Claude, I'm having a conversation with Claude of, hey, this is the reporting we use for measurements. This is the price sheet we use. Let's talk about having AI do this. And literally, I worked on it. It was quick. It was about 45 minutes just to see if it would work. And man, it was working seamlessly. And I was like, oh, okay. And really the idea is make us more efficient. Yeah. Can AI make us more efficient in the office so that way we can be better here, which is better for the customer? And from everything that I've seen so far, the answer is 100% yes on that.
Yeah. You still have to check it. It sometimes it spits out weird things, We're like, what? What's that?
Right, exactly. Yeah. We, I think, what was it? I forget exactly what it was, but we had, I think it was ChatGPT a couple of years ago, just to kind of test it, write a blog for us about something with gutters. And we read it, and it brought in some just outrageous things. And it was actually kind of funny. Like, we used it as a joke to say, hey, look, this is why people are still needed. It was probably 2 years ago, I'd say, maybe a year and a half ago. But it's definitely, you can see it's getting better and better and better. And, even GAF, the major roofing manufacturer, at their conference last year said, exactly what I said before. You either get on the train for AI or you're getting left behind. So if you might be afraid of it, you better, put that fear away and just jump on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just talked to my husband about that this morning. He is listening to AI podcasts.
Yep.
Podcasts about AI a lot lately.
Yes.
And so he's been talking about AI the whole time. And we need to, the kids need to learn it and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, we do.
Yes.
But even for my business, it will not replace a designer, because as a designer, you still need to have a brain to make things special.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to do the like Photoshop, like the little tasks.
Yep.
The manual tasks.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
But to really create a branding from something that you talk to your client about, and to really bring out something special, you still need a brain.
Yes.
You can't rely on, because otherwise it looks like everybody else's.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's correct. Yeah. Yep.
But you need to jump on it. And
you do.
What's one interesting development is stock photos. Because with Firefly and with Photoshop, you can create images that look phenomenal, but it's not stock. So you don't have to pay, because for stock images, you pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention that before, when you mentioned the TV commercial, you have a jingle. The jingle was, jingle was created when? It's pretty old,
2001, I think it was, or even 2000. My father hired a gentleman when we were doing, it was first when we got on the TV with, now it's Optimum, back then it was Cablevision. They had a guy by the name of Frosty who sang the jingle. And unfortunately, Frosty is no longer here, but he created it back in 2000, made a few edits to it over the years. But it's still going strong, and it's great because I was at the doctor getting my allergy shots, and the nurse saw my shirt and started singing the jingle, and I started cracking up. And she's like, "I just saw the commercial yesterday," and it definitely is one of those things that gets stuck in your head if you see it enough. Yeah. Frosty did a good job.
Yes, but and really quick, just going back, that's also something special.
Yes.
And yes, it can be replaced with AI. It can 100% be replaced. But that takes the Frosty part out of it.
Right, correct.
To have someone who's called Frosty who sang it, it makes it so much more personal than saying, oh, Claude, created it.
Right,
or whoever.
Yeah.
So it's just so much more
that
personal.
Human effect, that personalization effect that AI can never be a part of. It just can't.
Yeah.
It's just not. It doesn't have a brain, like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, it's 47 minutes. So we're at the end of we're at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
And thank you so much for being on the show. Me. And if someone needs a new roof, how can they get in touch with you?
So best way to get us is our main phone number, 973-927-0963, or go to our website, gjkeller.com, and fill out the form. You'll speak to Diana or Jen if Diana's on lunch, and she can answer any questions. And if somebody wants an estimate, we can set up an appointment to send one of the guys out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I will make sure to link all your show notes in all the links in the show notes.
Okay.
And on the website. And you are on Instagram. You're on Facebook.
Yep.
Are you on LinkedIn?
You're on LinkedIn as well. Correct. Yes. Okay. All the major websites. Yep.
Perfect. I will make sure to tag you in it. And if any of the listeners, if they either need a new roof, get in contact with Dan, or if you would like to look at your own brand, you can fill out the brand audit scorecard on my website, lioncreatives.com, and takes 5 minutes, and it's very interesting what comes up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again, Dan, for being here and being my guest.
This has been awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
This has been really fun.
Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Nice and early, 7 a.m.
Yes. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to This Might Get Creative, a Behind the Brand podcast by Lion Creatives. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who loves discovering local businesses and creative entrepreneurs. You can learn more about my work at lioncreatives.com or find me on Instagram, lion.creatives, and LinkedIn at Lion Creatives. Until next time, keep showing up, keep creating, and keep getting seen.